Right, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to another League One roundup. Hopefully you had a good weekend. Hopefully your side got the results. Some very decisive and exciting games of football took place. Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you happy? Are you not so happy? I'm more in the category of not so happy. I'll be replying and responding to all of your thoughts as per usual. But 4 straight defeats for Oxford United in League One. Yeah, I could be more happy. That's fair to say. We'll be touching on that game and 3 others. We have 4 selected as per usual, but at the end of the episode, we'll be touching around the ground. So don't worry, we won't miss out a single fixture. Let's get straight into it. Please do leave a like and subscribe on the road to 4.2 thousand subscribers. And like I said, this weekend, so much to chat about. Let's get straight into it. We haven't got time to sit here and dilly-dally. Let's start off with the first game, Oxford United against Shrewsbury Town. So Oxford 0, Shrewsbury 1, the XG for the game 1.59 to Shrewsbury's 0.73. We puffed, a slightly better performance from an Oxford point of view, but it's not enough. 4 on the bounce when it comes to losses, and the pressure on Robinson only does increase. As for Shrewsbury, another win on their winning run. Exciting times at Shrewsbury. But, like I said, I watched the game. As an Oxford United fan, it's getting just worse and worse, isn't it? It really, really is. I've written down here, we huffed and puffed, but that isn't enough. And I stand by it. We did show an element of work rate, effort, but that is the bare minimum. You need more than that. We need something called quality, and right now we're lacking in it. You look at the sides who are doing really well. Shrewsbury is one of them. I mean, they had not many chances in the game, but the one they did take was a really clinical finish. That comes down to quality in the final third, and that's something that Oxford seem to be absolutely inept at this season. Once again, an XG of 1.59, a momentum graph like that, and you still can't hit the back of the net. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, and I've written a few things down as well. I wanted to make sure I got the right notes because, once again, there's going to be all eyes on Oxford. All eyes on Oxford. Everywhere you look now, the pressure is on Oxford United. But most importantly, Robinson, because he is the manager and right now he's under so much scrutiny. And like I said with Tom on the Thursday roundup or reflection that I do at the end of every month, the start of every month, based on the previous one, we have to be sensible about it. There is, of course, lots of conversation about Robinson in or out. And I'm still in that sort of boat of Carl Robinson, time for change for all parties. I think there's more of a conversation and there's a more mature way of looking at it than just straight in and out. I am more Robinson. I think for everybody involved, it's time to part ways. And that's a respectful way of course, saying I think I probably am towards the out section. But once again, it's just dire. It really, really is, especially going forward. You know, like I said, the performance was better, and Robinson is right in saying that it is better, but it couldn't get much worse than Burton last week, could it? It couldn't get much worse than that. Barnsley, again, a bit better in the second half, but first half, dismal. Wycombe, dismal. You know, this is just now a running theme, and there's now almost a lack of disappointment. And that sounds really weird, but there is a lack of disappointment because you almost expect what's going to come. There's now this horrible thing in football as a football fan. And anyone right now that's going through this quite difficult footballing pain when your side is just getting worse and worse every single week and just keep losing games, there's almost this blasé feeling after a result. You get disappointed for about 10 minutes and then, because you're so used to it, because the run has been going on for so long, you sort of just go, this is scarily, normality now. You know, this is scarily what we should expect. And that's never nice. That really is never nice. So, like I said, it just does get, like, when you don't think it can increase in disappointment and frustration, it just goes and does that. And as a football fan, that's never nice. That is never nice. I'll touch on the starting 11s, but most importantly, Oxford and the players I think should come away with some sort of praise. Lewis Bates won. Lewis Bates is one in the centre of the field. If we didn't have Lewis Bates, by the way, only 6.5. Joseph with a 7. I mean, he did have a couple of chances. The goalkeeper is man of the match on SofaScore. That is right. He did make some really, really good saves. But the rating of Lewis Bates is wrong. He was brilliant. Without Lewis Bates this season, I don't know where we'd be. I really don't know where we'd be without Lewis Bates. I think he's somebody that brings energy. We know that the work rate that he offers, but actually his technical ability is top notch. Absolutely top notch. We talk about bringing quality into a side that right now can only rely on huffing and puffing. Lewis Bates is an exception to that. He is an exception to that. He does bring that element of almost ease in the midfield, the way he sort of just drifts past players, skips over challenges. He's really, really exciting. When he gets hold of the ball, you know he's going to move into the attacking areas and create something. But that's only one player. I look at Bailey Bowden, he came off injured. I mean, he didn't really look like he was going to do anything anyway. He hasn't done in the last couple of weeks. Wilshire as well, quiet. Tyler Goodrum, I think it was actually the best of that three I mentioned there. I think Carl Joseph was okay in terms of he did have a couple of chances, but he wasn't clinical enough for me. Tyler Goodwin was lively, picked up the ball a couple of times, took players on, like similar to Lewis Bate really, not just in physique, but actually in the way they play. They are quite similar. One's a central midfielder, one's more of an attacker, you'd say. But Lewis Bate, I think, is better, of course, at breaking the play up. Tyler Goodwin, still same type of ability when he's quite direct to take players on. I like that about both of those players, and in particular Tyler Goodwin getting a really good opportunity, of course, as a young player. But as I said a couple of weeks ago, these are young players that are being way too reliant, unfortunately. And although their development is definitely benefiting, they are being heavily reliant now as players starting in League One, and we're in crisis anyway. I mean, we're losing some senior figures at that football club. I don't want to go into too much detail about that because it's not exciting. That isn't for now, but like I said, it's just tough, isn't it? It really, really is. And I've written down here, relegation battle, question mark. I mean, let's have a look at the league table because, I mean, we'll look at the stats as well, but league table first. Oxford 15th now. You can see that form is looking horrendous, and you can see as well, we played 30 games. Sides around us, 28, 29. If they win those games in hand, we're going to be, I mean, Lincoln can overtake us. Fleetwood can go level on points with us, if that's right. If they win those 2 games in hand. I'm not to say that they will do that. Not that they can't do it, but you know that is maybe a little bit unlikely for a side in 17th or 16th. We'll have to wait and see. I don't actually know who they've got as those games in hand, but I think what's key to say is those sides that haven't got 30 games played, which is quite a lot of them, above and below, you know, most likely some of those will be, you know, well, there's a guarantee. Some of them will win, and that would certainly just see us plummet down the league table even further. So I wouldn't go so far to say we're in a relegation battle just yet, but if this does continue the way it's going, and this trend does continue, then who knows? You can't write that out. You can't rule that out. So we'll see what happens. You can see by looking at the stats as well. 56% possession, 44 to Shrewsbury, 16 shots to 7. So again, we do have more shots, but we're not clinical enough in that final third. The conversion rate, I don't think we've got a percentage of conversion rate, but I imagine it was, I'd say, a low conversion rate. I don't want to put an estimate on it. I'd probably go. Well, the conversion rate chances is 0%, isn't it? But it's to goals. But in terms of shots on target to total shots, I can't quite do the maths. But again, 16 to 6 it's okay. It could be better. We did have more corners. We are better from set pieces than we have been in previous years. But again, we didn't make the most of them today. We had the majority of the ball. We pinged it around, but we can do that. It's quite easy to just have the ball. But if you're not going to do anything with it, then what's the point? We've got players that can keep possession, but if they're not going to have that final ball and have that final effort to go in the back of the net, or have that clinical pass or that clinical effort, then that's irrelevant. Possession is irrelevant when it comes to that type of thing. So, yeah, I don't know where to go with this. It's disappointing, it's frustrating, and it only seems to be getting worse for Oxford. Once again, my thoughts on Carl Robinson is on the channel. That's a reflection on Thursday. It was a live stream, but yeah, another defeat, another element of frustration from an Oxford perspective. So Derby 5, Morecambe 0. The XG for the game 3.52 to Morecambe's 0.09. A battering for Morecambe. A battering for a side that have been better recently. However, Derby, they can't stop winning. And you can see by looking at the scoreline, the graph in front of you, and the XG, they were in total control. Clinical, but total control throughout the 90 minutes. Morecambe didn't really have a sniff. You can see by looking at the graph here, Derby in the first half, pretty much all of the opportunities going forward. Second half, only one moment for Morecambe, and that's such a tiny graph. You can see their tiny little spike. Derby, other than that, just running the show, absolutely running the show. Actually, only 1-0 at half-time. Second half, things, just got worse for Morecambe. It did end quite bad in the first half when they went 1-0 down, but in the second half, 4 goals conceded, 2 penalties. David McGoldrick, I believe, a really, really quick hat-trick. I want to sort of give a record that could be wrong out here. Is this the quickest hat-trick in League One ever? I feel like it really could be. 5 minutes. Of course, there was a half-time in between it, so I'm not... Well, that still counts, doesn't it? It's in-game minutes. So 45, 47 and 50. David McGoldrick, what a player. We knew him going down to League One was going to be exciting, and joining Derby, we knew he was going to be a top player. Almost playing as a shadow striker behind James Collins, who did get on the score sheet. He scored the penalty in the 66th minute. They did give him the penalty, David McGoldrick, in the 50th minute to seal that hat-trick. But yeah, really, really good result for Derby County. Exceptional, you'd say. Jason Knight got in with the goals in the 69th minute to make it 5-0. Nothing else for the rest of the game, but I think the job was done pretty much coming up to the 70th minute. I think the job was done probably at the hour mark, 50th minute actually, a little bit less than that. They were really, really quite good. And like I said, looking at the league table now, 4th in the league, but you look at the form of Plymouth and Ipswich, they're a little bit inconsistent at the moment. Ipswich have got to improve. We said that recently. They've got to improve if they want to sort of continue to be in the battle for the top 2. Plymouth have been, of course, very, very good. And so have Ipswich, but I'm talking in recent weeks, especially when you look at Derby in recent weeks, they've been ruthless. You can see by that graph there. By the form table there and the graph, but the form table also is quite dominant as well. Lots of wins, lots of green, and I imagine lots of excitement. I imagine a lot of excitement. 15 wins from 28. They have drawn a few, but like I said, we're talking about winning games of football. Right now, Paul Warne's side is just getting better and better, and now you can see where they are. You can see that squad. You can see the formation, the system, the players that are now oozing off the excitement that Paul Warne is building right now. The fans are getting excited. The club is bouncing again, and that's what Derby County deserve in terms of their fan base, the history they have, the rich history they have. You have to sort of, although no one's entitled to success or entitled to winning games of football, they do deserve it in the fact that they have been through it in recent years, and now things seem to be getting back on track. Of course, a long way to go, and let's not, blow too much smoke up the backside of Derby County and the football club there, but you have to look at it from face value right now. Things are looking good, but like I said, let's not go too far with it. There's still a while to go. Let's have a look at the stats as well. 71% possession to 29, so not just goals, chances and all that sort of thing that is dominant towards Derby County. Possession as well, 71%, 26 shots to 4, not a single shot on target for Morecambe. You have to feel sorry for Morecambe. Derby were brilliant, and also I've got to give credit to Tom as well. Of course, he said that Derby could make it double figures. I think he was slightly joking, but he was halfway there to double figures, of course, for his prediction on the game. And although Morecambe have been very good, you can see their recent form has been, for a side 21st in the league to win 3 of the last 5 is good. But it's better than some clubs. Oxford United, they're on 27 points, but Derby County, it's almost less of what Morecambe are about. It's more what Derby are about right now, and they're just ruthless, and most sides that face Derby County right now are going to be in for an absolute challenge. So yeah, Morecambe did face that, unfortunately, and things are looking on the up, and the lead position as well is slowly seeing them go up the up as well. Can they reach the top 2? I mean, there's no reason why they can't. They have got a game in hand that will put them on 56. You're then looking at 5 points away. It depends how Plymouth react after the loss against Sheffield Wednesday, and if Sheffield Wednesday can continue as well, similar form for those two clubs. Ipswich, they've got to improve and stop dropping silly points. So, yeah, you look at all those different factors, but let's not, in terms of looking at long term, that can be quite dangerous. You look at this game in particular and the recent results, you can't really argue the fact they're looking really good. Morecambe, you can see, sorry, they haven't got the numbers on there, but you can see Derby's average heat map there, how close McGoldrick is to James Collins. And in fact, we said shadow striker, although he's playing as that number 10, he's playing almost as that advanced forward. James Collins, we know he's not the quickest of players. He drops deep, and they can almost play off each other. So it's quite a good sort of way of not, I guess, utilising two strikers that aren't rapid. You sort of interchange there quite easily. So yeah, Derby County 5, Morecambe 0 is the final score. A good result, an exceptional result actually for Morecambe. A bad day at the office, 0 shots on target. It was never going to be easy to beat Morecambe with not a single shot on target. So let's go to the next game then. Let's head to Fratton Park. Portsmouth 1, Barnsley 1. The XG for the game, 0.93 to Barnsley's 1.06. You can see when the goals came, and by looking at the graph as well. Late heartbreak for Pompey, late jubilation for the away fans and everybody involved with Barnsley. They scored a very, very late equaliser. Bobby Thomas in the 89th minute, and the goal in the second half, earlier in the first half, Corey Bishop, the clinical striker, does make it 1-0. First half, I mean, it's quite equal actually. It is quite an equal game, and you sort of look back and Pompey fans will be frustrated they couldn't win the game. Maybe not because they completely deserved to win the game when you look at Barnsley having their moments, but actually because of how late the goal was. That is a sort of a regular thing in football. You almost forget, when you concede so late, you forget that because you were holding on to a win for a long time, and because you looked like you were going to get the win, that was almost a guarantee, which it never is. But as a fan, mentally, when you get in that position, you hope it is anyway. Losing a game late on is difficult, and you do, like I say, forget about what's happened before that. Barnsley's XG, and you can see by looking at the graph as well, they did have moments, and a draw probably is a fair result. But Pompey, they were good, and again, these are two sides that I think are very, very good. Pompey, lead position-wise, compared to Barnsley, a lot lower, but that's not, in the fault in the hands of the current manager and the current run they're going on. They are in a different era under John Massinho. You can see when looking at the goals as well in the first half, in the second half, early on, in the second half. In the first half, fairly equal. Barnsley, actually are going forward, had better chances. Second half, Pompey did come out and they did score early on and actually had probably the better of the half. But late on, it is 1-1 and it is a draw. A little look at the league table as well. Barnsley 6th in the league. Pompey now into that top 10. Of course, they've got a couple of games in hand as well. So Barnsley actually only 27 games of both of those football clubs. But you look at the sides above and around them. They can sort of jump up a couple of places. Pompey not so much actually, because they do need to sort of stay in that hunt. On 38 points, you do win those 2 games in hand. It's sort of what... I don't know why I put myself on the spot when it comes to maths here. You're in your late 40s, aren't you? 2 gets you to 40, 41, so 44. So yeah, you go level on Peterborough United, Wycombe and Shrewsbury. So yeah, you of course they are still in the mix, but you've got to guarantee you're going to win those games in hand, which you can't do because games in hand aren't results, unfortunately. Although many people want them to be that, they're not. 14 shots to 12, again quite close. Shots on target actually not many for either club, 3-2. Shots off target, 6 each as well. Corners more for Portsmouth. In terms of passes, Pompey were a little bit more dominant as well, but that's what to expect when you've got 57% possession. When you're dominant in possession, normally you have more of the passes. But Barnsley, we know the way they want to play. They were never going to go there and pretty dominate the ball. They understand what John Mousinho is trying to build at Pompey right now. It's a good brand of football. Colby Bishop can't stop scoring. A brilliant assist, by the way, from Marlon Pat. That ball in the penalty area, I did watch the goal. A lovely, delicate lifted ball in there, and straight on the end of Colby Bishop, who tucks it away with ease. And that's the type of striker that boy is. But yeah, it finishes Pompey 1, Barnsley 1. Barnsley still in the playoffs. Disappointment for Pompey to concede in the last minute. For Barnsley, it probably is justified the way that they were playing. They did have moments, and to score late on, they'll be very pleased with that. Right, let's move on to the final game. So arguably the biggest fixture of the weekend when it comes to League One, second versus first. Before the game, a little bit different after it. It finishes Sheffield Wednesday 1, Plymouth 0. The XG for the game, 1.19 to Plymouth's 0.45. You can see for proof, the league table, Sheffield Wednesday are now top of the tree. Plymouth in second, both on 61 points. Only goal difference means Sheffield Wednesday are top. They do have a game in hand, so they can stretch that to 3 points. But this was a huge game. We did a preview on it. I said 1-1. 1-0 was the final score. I think I did quite well in predicting the lineups as well. I think I got that back 3. A lot of conversation about who's going to play in that back 3. I think I got that right, and they did have quite a good game, to be fair. A clean sheet for the back 3 of Sheffield Wednesday. And again, we spoke about how Volks, Barry Bannon and Byers playing as a 3 together could be really, really good. We said you can't drop Volks. We know Bannon and Byers have been injured, but you can't drop someone like Volks who has stepped in recent weeks and done such a good job. I insisted in that 3 being the 3. Keep it compact, have a holding midfielder who is in good form starting in this game. Don't be blinded by Barry Bannon and Byers, who are top players coming back, but then forcing yourself to drop Volks because you want to play a number 10 or you want to play another attacker. Don't do that in this type of game. Plymouth have got problems. Keep the strong players that are on form in that starting 11. And Volks was that. He started in that position with Barry Bannon and Byers to the side of him. Really good balance. Volks, it's refreshed on me, but I can still go. Volks, that more defensive, ball-winning player. Byers, that more box-to-box. Bannon as that more advanced playmaker, attacking midfielder in the 3. Then got Marvin Johnson, you've got Patterson, who actually, we talk about that extra attacking number. He is that attacking number. Went with Hunt. Weird, though. Jack Hunt was sort of not playing because of sort of being a little bit, what people are saying, he didn't get played because of being a bit more of an attacking option and he could get exposed basically in this type of system. Now, if I'm not wrong, Patterson is definitely more of an attacker than even Jack Hunt is. So, again, clever from Darren Moore. I would not have called that. Maybe some would have done, but I wouldn't have done. And that's why he's a manager and I'm not. A front 2 of Michael Smith and Josh Windass. We expected that to be the 2, Windass and Michael Smith, but in particular Windass has been in brilliant form. As for Plymouth, a few interesting picks, actually. The back 3 was probably what everyone thought it was going to be. I went with one different player. And there were other factors in the game. We'll speak about injury. Michael Cooper coming off is never ideal. Him coming off in the 34th minute. Scar as well coming off in the 14th minute. These are really difficult things to deal with, especially you're losing a key centre back and your main goalkeeper. I mean, the spine of your team is damaged. So of course there are factors that have to be included, and that rightly is why I'm saying it now. Of course, I'm going to take away from Sheffield Wednesday and that really good result, but it is important to say that the spine of a side, Michael Cooper, Dan Scar, I mean, it literally is the spine. You can see there in the positions they played. A goalkeeper is fairly important, and somebody of Michael Cooper's quality, losing him I don't know whether or not Burton made any blunders. I mean, they didn't concede after he came on, so it suggests not. But still, someone like Michael Cooper, his distribution, his confidence, his just general aura as a goalkeeper right now is so good. Losing him is a problem. Same with Dunsky. He's a leader, isn't he? He's an absolute leader. Although he's not the captain, he's sort of that marshal in the back three. Let's have a look at the graph here. The attacking momentum graph is what it's called. The goal came on fairly early, and it was Callum Patterson, someone who I didn't think was going to get that 11, especially as a right winger. But there we go, we're a right midfielder. But that, like I said, is why I'm not in charge. He scored very early on. It was equal. It was fairly equal. You sort of edged towards Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, in terms of chance creation, Sheffield Wednesday did edge them 1.19. I say edge them, it was actually quite a big difference. 1.19 to 0.49. So Plymouth probably struggling a little bit when it comes to sort of creating chances and really getting in the game. It certainly was not their best performance. It really wasn't. And Sheffield Wednesday, probably not their best performance of the season, but it was never going to be that, really. Although they had real quality, these are going to be quite tight games that you're not going to have an XG of, well, you might have done, but it would have been quite rare to see an XG of this type of game being in the 3s or 2s for both clubs. It very rarely is that. It's quite tight. There's a lot on the line. There's pressure involved, and of course the crowd is a brilliant crowd at Hillsborough. Sellout crowd, I believe, was really edging towards Sheffield Wednesday in that preview. Home advantages. 40% of the wins this season have come from the home side in League One, so that does show that extra number, that extra player in a cliche fan perspective, is important. There is that, and you can see by looking at the league table now, Sheffield Wednesday fans, not just in that ground, but even at home, they're going to be happy when looking at that. They really, really are. 59% possession to Plymouth, but once again, only one shot on target. Although they did have moments going forward, and maybe they could have got something from it. Only one shot on target in this type of game isn't good enough. It isn't good enough. 9 shots is okay, but to only test the goalkeeper properly on one occasion is a problem. Although only 4, but 4 is more than 1. Breaking news. Top quality analysis there. But the point I'm making is, although there wasn't a massive difference there, to have only one shot on target against the quality of Sheffield Wednesday is a big problem. And I think if you take that one chance and you win the game 1-0, you sort of clap and thank the living hell out of the centre half and defenders and the whole team for defending and keeping quite tight. But if you only have one opportunity or one shot on target, difficult day at the office for New Zealand's Ben Waine as well. Ron Hardy, I believe, came on. So did Cosgrove. Did okay, but yeah. It was a tough one for Plymouth, and they were disappointed because they have been top of the league for quite the majority of the season. And to lose it to Sheffield Wednesday in a big game, they'll be annoyed. They really, really will be. But it finishes Sheffield Wednesday 1, Plymouth Argyle 0. A new leader in town when looking at the league table. Sheffield Wednesday are that club. First now on 61 points, with of course a game in hand on second, Plymouth. Right, let's touch on the other games then, around the ground as we like to call it. We've only touched on 4, but we can do the others. Cambridge 1. Ipswich 1, a brilliant result for fighting Cambridge United on the bottom end of the League One table. Not a very good result for the fighting of promotion when it comes to Ipswich. They were dominant, they did have more of the ball, and going forward, they were an issue. But once again, silly points being dropped. We speak about them not being good enough, and speak about them not being good enough, not just generally, but actually just in perspective of chasing sides like Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday and Derby, who are breathing, not sniffing, breathing down their neck. You have to be better. To be in the race and to stay in the race, you've got to improve. And this is an example of a side, once again, who are good, but 1-1 away to Cambridge United. No disrespect, a brilliant result for Cambridge United. But this, again, is a side you've got to be professionally moving through. You've got to be powering through these types of games, and they weren't able to. And once again, now you look back in regret, and you don't want to do that ever in life, but especially for Ipswich in football. And in the Ferguson derby, it finishes Forest Green Rovers 0, Peterborough United 2. Once again, another loss for Forest Green Rovers, still rock bottom. Of course, new manager Duncan Ferguson has come in. He lost his first game against Shrewsbury, and now defeat against Peterborough United. For Peterborough, another good win on the road, and I think that the chase, the run for a top 6 finish is still on. It really, really is. Professional, saw through the game and did just that. Exeter 1, Charlton 2. A good result for Charlton, a really, really good one. We know Exeter have got real quality. They did make it quite tight when Exeter got a goal back. Of course, they did go 2-0 up quite early on in the game. Exeter then dominated for the end of that first half. Did get the goal, but weren't able to get the second one in that second spike. No goals in the second half. Exeter defeated at home by Charlton. Bolton 1, Cheltenham 0. Once again, Bolton not scoring many goals, but winning the game. And that's the most important thing, especially at this point in the season. They did get the job done against Cheltenham, who are going through a quite difficult moment at the moment. You can see 18th, but I think it is now 5 straight defeats. I could be wrong with that. In fact, let me scroll up on that, make sure I'm not making that up. I am making it up. No, I'm not. It isn't 5 straight defeats. They drew their game before the last one. So, sorry. It isn't 5 straight defeats. It's 5 losses in the last 6, I believe, but it's 4 losses in the last 5, so I do apologise, but it isn't great. The fixtures haven't been easy for Cheltenham, but it is a defeat against Bolton. Not embarrassed, not humiliated, but Bolton, they got the win. Port Vale 0, Wycombe 3. Just Wycombe do what Wycombe do best, really. Not much going on the graph. In blue, of course, Wycombe, representing Wycombe, still in the game 3-0. It's what they're all about. Port Vale didn't really ever get many chances either. Doesn't look like a brilliant game. Doesn't look like an absolutely great spectacle of League One football, but there we go. Can't argue for everything. Bristol Rovers lose at home against MK Dons. I mean, again, that game doesn't look great either, does it? Bristol Rovers, they're in a really quite... Well, they're losing quite a few games at the moment, aren't they? You can see by looking at the graph. We scroll up, here's the league table. Where are we? Bristol Rovers, 3 defeats on the bounce. Tough, isn't it? Especially when you're sort of in that top 8 a couple of weeks ago. MK Dons now still in that relegation battle, but out of the relegation zone, 19th in the league. 2-0 for them. Great result on the road. We spoke about that one. Thankfully, we haven't got to look back at that. Accrington 0, Lincoln 3. Jake Tong sent me a message. Lincoln are back. They got the win. They did get the win. And going forward, really, really dominant. Accrington couldn't get a kick in the game. Not an easy place to go whatsoever, Accrington, to win the game 3-0. Fair play. Dominant display from Lincoln. They get the 3 points. And finally, Fleetwood 2, Burton Albion 3. A brilliant game of football, but Fleetwood's home record once again letting them down. Once again, a huge downfall of Scott Brown and Fleetwood, losing games at home, and especially to Burton, who aren't, of course, in a great league position, and compared to Fleetwood, that's a must-win, you'd say. Now Burton out of the bottom 4. Another really good win, of course. Used the sort of the bounce from the Oxford result and took it into this one. Fair play to them. 3-2. Lots of goals for Burton. But that's what we expect. When Burton win the game, they normally concede a few. Other than Oxford. But that's because we can't score goals, so that isn't a good example. But you can see that. Another exciting Burton Albion win this season. 3-2, the final score. And there we go. That is the league table. Sheffield Wednesday now top of the tree in that relegation zone. Morecambe, Cambridge, Accrington, Forest Green, Rovers, rock bottom. Peterborough win to make it quite tight. We're looking at that top 6 race. But once again, Wycombe and Shrewsbury level on point. Shrewsbury in top form. So that does round up this roundup, if you like. Please do leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you all very, very soon. A brilliant weekend we did witness in League One. Like I said at the start, give your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll be replying and responding to all of those as per usual. Until next time, I'll see you all very, very soon. See you in a bit.